Hello everyone, it's Ready People 2 with a brand new video. So today, yes, by the title, we're talking about a big subject. Clearly Chris Chan, everyone's kind of looking into him, everyone's talking about him at the moment. Not many people are talking about Barb, his mother, and I think there is a reason for that. It is a sensitive subject, but I have looked, even before all this kind of stuff went down, there's no real videos talking about her, talking about who she is, their family atmosphere. I just want to clarify before we get into anything, this is a very sensitive subject, and unlike my videos on the likes of Blue Spike and Clyde Cash, this is going to be a lot more serious and a lot more kind of reserved, because it's a very serious subject. I'm not going to go into the details of the stuff that's happening at the moment. I want to use this video to talk about Chris, to talk about his mother, to talk about kind of the dynamics between them, to give some context to the events. None of this stuff that I'm going to talk about is going to excuse any of the stuff that's going on at the moment. It's almost irrelevant. Let's use this as context, try and not to think about the horrendous events that are going on at the moment. Just use this to distract ourselves, give us some context, and let's just see where we go. So, like usual in these Chris Chan videos, I will be referring to the CWC wiki, doing a character profile, talking about them, kind of seeing the different backstories, seeing kind of the mix between fact and fiction, and the relationship with Chris Chan himself. Barbara Chandler, better known as Barb by the fans, is obviously Chris Chan's mother. Chris's father, Bob, unfortunately died back in 2011, and it's just been Barb and Chris living together since then. Barb was born on the 1st of October 1941, making her, at the time of recording and uploading, 79 years old. Barb is someone who, in general, throughout the whole Chris Chan sagas, is someone that the fans have never really liked. She's never really got a good reception, just due to her antics, due to her personality, and that sort of thing. Just to give a brief rundown, Barb is often seen as quite a manipulative, almost abusive person. Chris isn't her only son. She also has a son called Cole Smithy, who is currently 57, so he's a lot older than Chris, nearly 20 years older. And it's believed that he receives even harsher treatment. Cole was able to get away. He was able to leave, move on to different things. Still, he is very up his own arse. He's very egocentric. He is a film critic. He does stuff like Rotten Tomatoes, and he's been able to do something to get away from the abuse that he did suffer, which wasn't great. I'll be honest. To understand Barb, you need to understand not necessarily her childhood, but more her younger loves, and it'll make much more sense. Barb claims to have had 4 husbands, including Chris's father. However, records can only show 2 of them. The first is Jack Dale Smithy, who she claims to be married to, but the records have never been found, and she hasn't heard of him since 1964. That's a long time ago, let me be honest. This is who she claimed was her other son, Cole's father, for the longest time, until he actually had to hire a private detective himself and find out that his father was actually Rand Coleman Yeats, a man who she was legally married to back in 62, only for a couple of years, and then he ran off and disappeared. However, even when he died in 2007, there was no mention of his son or anything like that. It's all a bit of a strange mystery as to Cole Smithy's father. Now, the final person, apart from Chris's father, that she was allegedly married to, was Jerry Harmon. Jerry was known as Cole's abusive stepfather. Here's a quote directly from Cole. "I grew up in an abusive household with Barbara and my former stepfather Jerry, where physical and mental punishments ran the gambit, from bare-ass beatings to cold showers to bizarre scenarios acted out with glee by 2 deeply neurotic adults. Even at a very young age, I knew that they would abandon me. They were both irresponsible and incompetent parents who exposed me to traumas that I would not rather remember." This just shows you the kind of behaviour that Barb was known for, which is why a lot of people don't like her. Now, don't get me wrong, this is worse than how Chris was treated. Chris was treated poorly in the grand scheme of things, but in comparison to poor Cole Smithy, it's not great. To clarify, Cole has not spoken out about anything going on at the moment. He's not said anything. He's kept very quiet. He's turned off his mentions on Twitter and all that, which, fair play to him. Give the man some space. That's kind of her previous marriages. It's dodgy. But Bob is someone who initially Christian fans didn't like, but was able to come to terms with his shortfallings as a father and that kind of thing. And towards the end of his life, he went for a character arc. He genuinely changed the person to a more positive and helpful person to Chris. So Bob and Barbara met in Maddie's pub in Richmond on a karaoke night. Barbara was there with friends and singing. Cole's friend, Chuck, who worked at the bar, vividly recalled them being a pair of drunken dumbasses. Now, this is a recurring thing. In my personal opinion, doing a lot of Christian stuff, talking about Christian quite a lot, I think one of the biggest reasons for Chris being how he is now, I know he is autistic, but he was left alone for a long time as a child while Barb and Bob went off drinking with an abusive babysitter. What happened is unknown, but there was times where they would return and he just wouldn't speak for days, if not weeks at a time, just due to the abuse that he'd received. That's a story for another video. Towards the last 2 decades of their marriage, it's said that they were not intimate. They grew apart very much, Bob and Barb, but not to the point where they were going to get a divorce. And on the 6th of September 2011, Bob unfortunately passed away. So going back to Barb, there is said to be some form of physical abuse, but not. I don't think it was heavy. I don't think it was frequent. Whatever it was, I'm not going to get into it. It's more than manipulation. This kind of whole part is just kind of discussing how she'd manipulate him to do things. If he did something wrong, she would threaten suicide if he didn't fix it, or this kind of thing. This continuous threat of suicide for a child and a young adult, for their mother to say it's traumatizing. It's a bit wild. This kind of frequent manipulation of Chris to think that potentially his mother was going to do something bad or he'd cause something bad with his mother, really, I think, has stuck with him throughout the years and kind of formed him to be who he is now. The same thing comes for financial exploitation. She would constantly ask Chris to sell things to get money. Now, bearing in mind, throughout Chris's life, Barb and Bob, they always kind of encouraged this weird internet celebrity life of begging for money and doing all that kind of thing and living off welfare. They never wanted him to get a job, despite him being able to get a job and still getting welfare. They encouraged this kind of very lazy sit at home and just reaping the rewards for his condition, basically. And with that, they were never very well off, and she would always ask him to sell stuff and get some money or beg for some money. So a quote from Chris, which is a bit weird in the context in terms of Barb's pampering towards him. Yeah, but then my mum is pretty much jealous of me loving another woman more than her. Oh, it's weird. This is the bit where it does get really weird. I'm going to blur this picture because it's just a madness, especially with everything going on right now. It's in poor taste. It's in poor taste. This is the bit where I meant. According to Cole, Bob and Barbara left Chris alone every day for years with the abusive babysitter while going out drinking, effectively ignoring the manifestation of the early symptoms of autism. After Chris's initial diagnosis and after their negligence was inevitably thrown back in their face, Barbara resorted to any means necessary to coax Chris into talking, most notoriously by bribing him with toys. This goes again into Chris has autism, and through the abuse throughout the years, through the neglect, it really did manifest, and he genuinely spent a lot of his childhood just not speaking, through whether it was fear, whether it was just trauma, anything like that. It was bad. It's bad. While both of Chris's parents are largely responsible for his current state, Barb has more often than not been the most active in protecting Chris from recognizing any failure or shortcomings on his part, doing everything from being his sole commission with Kutko to going as his first date for senior prom. This is the kind of context which I think doesn't change anything of the current events, but it just adds a bit of context, a bit of something to it. The idea of the family dynamic, I've been aware, looking through all these different articles and everything about Chris, that is very toxic at home, but it seems like everything's now boiled over and we're really getting a look in, and this, it doesn't come as a shock looking at this. Even when he got banned from the game place, she went in, she argued his case. Later on, they were even set on charges of assault. It's mental. It's mental. This is crazy. The family's nuts. It's insane. Barbara constantly babies Chris and tells him how handsome he is. She also told Chris that the reason he often blanks out or gets confused is not that he is absent-minded, slothful buffoon, but that he is a creative genius and is simply overwhelmed by having so many creative ideas. However, it seems that even Barb has her limits. Like Bob, she was ashamed of Chris's effeminate escapades, claiming that she did not raise a daughter and that tomgirl is not a thing. She tried and failed to get Chris to stop wearing bra and panties, even offering to pay him to stop. It's weird. She gives him all this kind of strange support in his endeavours, in his creative ideas, which I respect the effort, but they've gone nowhere. They've done nothing. Well, they've done everything for him in all the wrong ways, in terms of having a normal life. His parents have encouraged this. The rest of his family have disowned that small section. So a real quick bit. I know that I've read this all before, so I know this was written before this current fiasco, but this whole spooning. The quote is, I'm not going to read the quote. I'm going to put the quote on the screen right now. I'm not going to do myself dirty. I was going to say it. I will not be done out of context. Barb's habit of cuddling with Chris had been going on since Bob was alive, and he knew of it. Due to Barb's manipulation, he was unable to stop her. In August 2016, Chris admitted to having incestuous fantasies about Barb, prompting further analysis of their uncomfortable, intimate relationship. It's been going on for a while. Well, maybe not what's actually happening now, but the kind of strange, close, dodgy relationship it's always been going on. It's nothing new. I'm going to skip over the health problems. It's a lot about her being narcissistic, about her being a hoarder herself. Their house is a wreck, just piles of stuff, not being able to get in anywhere. Obviously, she does suffer from dementia. Her weight has been quite a big thing. While Chris was getting big and famous, quote unquote, for that decade, she was very large, very overweight, and she was referred to as Snorlax. But recently, whether it's health problems or anything, she has become very, very thin, very, very gaunt. And that kind of leaves us to the end. So she's had legal problems, financial problems, health problems, everything under the sun. Now again, I want to clarify, this isn't an excuse for anything that's going on. This really has no relevance. It just gives us a context of who Barb is in the eyes of the public. Don't get me wrong, she might be a very lovely person. She might well be. There's nothing stopping her. Unfortunately, Barb does suffer from dementia and is very old. And with everything going on, I hope, no matter what any of this says about her, I wish her the best. I hope she is able to live the rest of her life in somewhat comfort and somewhat happiness. Again, despite what's going on. Again, this video is not here to poke any fun at her or the family or anything like that at the moment. It's here to give the context. It's here to talk about something that no one has really spoken about. I've seen a lot of news, people just saying that Chris raped his mother, and that's kind of it. They give no story to it, they give no context to it, they don't really say anything. They really like to focus in on Chris, which is good. You need to focus in on the bad guy to show off that he's bad. No one's really speaking about Barb, and I feel like it's important. But this has been a bit more of a serious video than I'd hoped. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you want any more Chris Chan videos, I'd like to be able to go back to making, fun, poking fun at, 2014 Chris Chan and that kind of thing, rather than having to take serious looks at stuff going on right now with everything. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please do like and subscribe. I'll be ManDB14. See ya.
I've been warping, nobody noticed distortion. I've been changing, nobody noticed the strangeness. Life's a pain, yes. Don't tell me suicide's painless. You might convince me that's dangerous. might just go and play